All right, ready for a deep dive into some children's poetry today.
Always up for that. What do we have on the docket?
We've got two pieces by Nona Moysu, Walking in the Snow, and Pea Leaves.
Sounds cozy, but knowing the show, I'm guessing there's more to it than meets the eye.
Exactly. One of our listeners called in with a fascinating observation about a birds and bees element in these poems, especially when it comes to the idea of absent fathers.
Oh, wow. Okay, I'm intrigued. Those are pretty loaded themes for children's poetry.
Right, and it starts with the very first lines of Walking in the Snow. It paints this vivid, snowy scene, a boy who seems a bit lost.
I can already picture it. Go on.
Okay, so he says, I hear bluebirds and red-winged blackbirds, but I don't see any bees.
The birds and the bees, huh?
Uh-huh.
Our listener was onto something. What do you make of that connection?
Well, it made me think about how often birds, especially bluebirds, symbolize motherhood and nurturing literature.
And the absence of bees.
Yeah.
Well, they're often linked to fatherhood in that classic way. That's definitely significant.
It feels like Moysu is hinting at a potential void in the boy's life right from the start.
A void that could be influencing his journey. I like where this is going.
And as he's trying to find his way home, the poem emphasizes how unsure he is. We get these details about the crunch, crunch, crunch of his footprints, the cold, crisp air, even a frozen lake. It creates this sense of being lost, not just physically, but maybe emotionally too.
You know, growing up without a father figure can lead to those exact feelings, that uncertainty, like you said, of being lost, of not knowing which way to go.
And then there's this line about a tunnel filled with dirty roly-polies and slimy gray slugs.
That's a vivid image. What do you think those creatures represent?
It made me think about the confusion and even fear that some children might experience without a father figure, those messy, sometimes icky emotions they have to navigate.
It's like those creatures are metaphors for the challenges he's facing, both internal and external, without the guidance a father might typically offer. But even in that darkness, there's a glimmer of hope. The poem takes an interesting turn, right?
Yeah, it's like a sensory beacon cuts through the cold. He starts following scents. Wood smoke, cinnamon rolls, apple pie. It's like those familiar smells are pulling him home.
It's not just about finding his way home physically, though, is it? Those scents are so evocative. They're practically universal symbols of warmth, comfort, and home. And you know what else they make me think of?
A mother's love.
Exactly. Wood smoke, that cozy fireplace, cinnamon rolls, apple pie, straight out of a mother's kitchen. It's like he's being drawn toward that nurturing, loving presence.
It's like those comforting smells are a lifeline, cutting through the coldness and uncertainty he's been feeling.
Absolutely. And I think that contrast highlights a really important idea. Even without a father figure, a mother's love can be a powerful guiding force. It can lead a child back to a place of security.
It's like she's the anchor in his storm.
Yes. And speaking of storms, there's that line that really stood out to me. He talks about feeling a strong force behind me. It is a never-ending wind, and it will not stop blowing. You can really feel his desperation when he says, "Where am I now? Am I home yet? I hate not knowing." But then, that wave of relief, the yellow sunlit morning sky, I can finally see I am not lost in the snow anymore because my mommy found me.
You can almost hear the relief in his voice.
Right, and that never-ending wind. It feels like a metaphor for all the unpredictable forces in life that can be so overwhelming, especially for a child, especially when facing these kinds of challenges.
It's like he's being buffeted by things beyond his control.
Exactly. And the fact that it's a strong force behind him makes me think he's not just wandering aimlessly. He's being propelled, maybe even pushed around by these external circumstances. But then his mother, she finds him. She brings him back to the light, literally and figuratively.
She's a safe harbor.
It's such a powerful testament to the importance of that mother-child bond, especially in the absence of a father. It makes you wonder about the impact of these family dynamics on a child's life.
And how they might shape his understanding of family and relationships as he grows up. Speaking of exploring those kinds of themes, we have another poem to unpack, Pea Leaves. And, it actually echoes some of these same ideas, but in a really unexpected way.
Oh, I'm ready for a change of scenery. Lead the way.
Okay, so in Pea Leaves, we meet this little pea, and right away he's on this quest for identity and purpose. He's asking those big existential questions like, I am perplexed about when I came to be. I am also unsure why I am able to speak and see. I don't even know what in the hills I am, but I do know that I am green. He's just trying to figure out who he is and where he belongs, much like the boy in Walking in the Snow.
I'm already starting to see the parallels. Both protagonists are on these journeys of self-discovery, trying to find their place in the world. And, just like the boy's journey might be shaped by the absence of his father, the P's search for identity takes on this whole other layer when he starts questioning his own origins.
It's like he's longing for that missing piece of the puzzle,
Right.
especially when he wonders about the mighty plower that planted him. Could that be another subtle nod to a missing father figure?
It definitely makes you wonder. It's like he's yearning for that connection to his roots, to the source of his being, which could be a metaphor for that paternal presence he's missing.
And then there's the ending of the poem where the P finds his pea-green wife. On the surface, it seems like a simple, happy resolution. But knowing Moysu's style, there's probably more to it than meets the eye.
There usually is. What struck you about that ending?
Well, he calls her his pea-green wife, which is cute and all, but then there's this detail. She's not even in a pod like him. He specifically says she was a pea in a cup.
Yeah.
It makes you think, right?
I do wonder if Moysu is hinting at something about different family structures, maybe challenging the traditional idea of what a family should look like.
Right, like his pea-green wife isn't just any pea, she's a pea in a cup. That detail feels very deliberate.
And the fact that he finds happiness and fulfillment with a pea who's not from the same pod, so to speak, could suggest an openness to different kinds of families, a willingness to embrace something outside that traditional pea pod mold.
It's like she's saying it's okay to be different, to find love and belonging in unexpected places.
And that ties back to walking in the snow. Maybe the boy, having grown up without a father, is more open to a less conventional path himself, just like the pea finding his unpotted wife.
It's like Moysu is showing how our early experiences, especially within our families, can shape our whole outlook on life.
Exactly. And what I find so compelling is how she does it all so subtly, weaving these really profound ideas into these seemingly simple children's stories. It makes you realize how much depth and meaning we often overlook in children's literature, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And it all started with that one listener's observation, the birds and bees in Walking in the Snow. And then we started noticing how both poems are really about journeys of finding. The boy finding his mother, the pea finding his wife.
Two very different journeys, yet connected by this search for connection, for a sense of belonging. It makes you wonder if these stories could even be reflections of different stages in the same life, don't you think?
It's a fascinating thought. It's like we're seeing how this one experience growing up without a father might shape not only the boy's childhood, but also his approach to love and family later in life.
And ultimately, it's a reminder that even in the simplest of stories, there's always more beneath the surface.
Always something to make us think. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. But remember, the conversation doesn't have to end here. Pick up a children's book, maybe even one by Nona Moysu, and see what hidden depths you might uncover. You never know what you'll find.